we have here something very important, at least to one person. We have here a small basketball jersey, because this belongs to my 9-year-old cousin. And for him, that's the most important thing around. You'll notice the name Curry on here. Well, now some of us may have heard about a professional basketball player named Steph Curry. And Steph Curry is the idol of my young cousin. He loves basketball, and he wants to be like Steph Curry. Well, there's something to be admired about Steph regardless, in that, well, it's something all of us could probably admire, and it's the fact that he was told that, well, Steph, you're good, you're a great college player, but you'll never play professional basketball because you're not tall enough. Well, he just practiced and every day and put his whole self into it, and he was named in the professional league one of the most valuable players. Another thing about Steph Curry that I can admire is that he gives God the credit. Whenever he's able to do something that's spectacular, gives his thumbs up. That's God that did that. I don't follow professional basketball at all, but I could sure identify with that. Well, in our gospel today, we find people meeting Jesus, and their lives changed. After they met Jesus, they could become very different people. But it's normal. It's normal for us to try and be like the person that we admire. We want to be like that person, just like my young cousin wants to be like Steph Curry. We want to follow them, be like them. And that's really how the Gospels are explained, how Christ is explained in the Gospels, not so much with an idea, but how he changed people's lives. People met Christ, and they wanted to be like him because he changed their lives. And we see that happening in the gospel tonight. John the Baptist is with two of his disciples, and Jesus comes walking by. And John the Baptist says, "Behold the Lamb of God." And the two disciples, they start to follow Jesus. And Jesus sees them and invites them to spend the day with him. They follow Jesus. And one of the disciples, he goes and gets his brother, Simon, and brings him to Jesus. And Jesus looks at him and says, "You know, from now on, your name isn't Simon, it's Peter." And with that, as we know, Peter's life changed. He wouldn't be the same after meeting Christ. Maybe another example of just how this can work would be tomorrow, or on Monday, we celebrate the birthday of Martin Luther King. And Martin Luther King, as you might know, was a very young pastor of a church. And some of the leaders around the community came and they said, well, will you join us? Will you help us to make changes in our city? And with that, when they got to know Martin Luther King, they wanted to follow him. They wanted to be like him. They wanted to support him. Somehow, their lives were different. They had to make a choice. They made a choice. And that's what we're talking about in our gospel tonight. Some chose to follow Martin Luther King, and some, at least one person, wanted to kill him. But it was a choice. And that's the choice that comes before each one of us here tonight. We're all called. Jesus called ordinary people to share his message. And we have to ask ourselves, what is my choice? Just like the disciples had to do. When we look at Christ's call to us, we say, okay, what's my answer? What do I have to do? Remember, Christ isn't concerned about what we did last year, but what we can do this year. And that's the choice before all of us here tonight. We're starting off a new year. What is our choice? We have to ask ourselves. It's not wasn't what important thing is not 2017, but 2018. We have to look at ourselves and just take time to say, what has to stop in my life? And what do I have to stop doing? And what do I have to start doing to truly follow Christ? And so as we go on tonight and get ready to share in the body and the blood of Christ, let's ask ourselves, take time, just take a few minutes. What do I have to stop doing? What do I have to start doing? What changes do I have to make? And the important thing is, we can't put it off. The year's ahead of us, but the calendar's rolling. We want to do that. So as we get ready now to share in the body and blood of Christ, let's ask God for the help and the strength that we need to make the changes in our lives for 2018.